And welcome back, everyone, to the Brotherhood channel with your hosts, KillJ and Number One. And this is another night of comic book hour, or geek hour, I should say, with your. So, as always, we're going to talk about another key issue here for our comic, or for our geek hour, I should say. I always want to call it a comic book hour, but you know, as always, we can talk about anything Marvel-related, comic books, TV shows, movies. And along with the comic books themselves. So tonight we're going to be just discussing the Incredible Hulk issue 271, first appearance of Rocket Raccoon. Everyone's into the galaxies. So in this key issue here, this is when we're first introduced to him. He actually isn't with the Guardians of the Galaxy yet. He actually meets all things the Incredible Hulk first, as seen in game, as you saw him meet the Incredible Hulk there. Different backstory how they meet though. In this issue, he actually meets the Incredible Hulk on a world called Half World. Let me just check, make sure I have notes here. It's called Half World. It's a planet that apparently the Incredible Hulk was transported to, with lots of talking animals. He actually meets, not on top of Rocket Raccoon, but a character called Walrus. Literally, it's Wall Space Rus. I don't know. It's how they. Yeah, another key character apparently that was met there. Anyway, he meets the two characters on this planet as they're trying to protect something called the Gideon's Bible from a villain called Judson Jake, who needs it to take over the Keystone Quadrant. Yeah, I know it's a very old comic, so you know some of this is probably stuff no one's really ever heard of. Myself, I've never heard of some of this, but still, it's pretty cool, you know. Anyway, so they ask for the Incredible Hulk's help in protecting this, and then as the comic progresses, Rocket Raccoon actually has a girlfriend called Lila. Yeah, he actually has a girlfriend, apparently. Judson, actually kidnaps her and gets a hold of the Gideon's Bible. The Hulk and Rocket Raccoon team up. He gets his girlfriend back. He gets the Bible back. And then on a kind of like a side story, Betty Ross, Hulk's love, is actually on Earth, trying to save a person called Rick Jones, because apparently he was exposed to a tremendous amount of gamma radiation. Yeah, we all know how that goes, right? Anyway, so she's trying to save him, and at the very end of the comic, Hulk is actually transported back to Earth. Rocket Raccoon, like I said, saves his girlfriend, gets the Bible back, and that's the end of the story. So, not a bad introduction. In actuality, Rocket Raccoon himself was actually introduced in another comic, or another comic. I actually can't think of the name of it right now myself. But it was never actually called Rocket Raccoon. He was called, I think, Rocco or Raccoon. It was this, but this is when he made his first actual appearance as the name Rocket Raccoon. The other one was kind of like a cameo, kind of like a pilot test to see how people would accept him, if they would like him. From what I'm saying, didn't go great, went okay, but that's why they kind of did this, where they actually introduced him in this issue right here. And you know, of course, they're going to introduce it in an actual, a more popular character, Incredible Hulk. So at this point, you know, Incredible Hulk's pretty much established, as you can see, 271. So not too bad. And then, of course, you know, down the road, he ends up joining the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think like the second era rendition of him, because the first group actually had a different set of characters in it. So there's that. which I actually have that comic as well, which we could discuss at another Geek Hour. This issue right here, I actually purchased this one about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. It's not a high grade comic. I would probably put it at like a 3 or 4. So usually I purchase above that, but this is actually the first one I've ever seen of this one, so I couldn't really pass it up. Again, it's not a horrible quality. I mean, it's got some minor, very slight tears at the top, slight creases on it. All the pages are there. It looks fine on the inside, nothing torn up on the inside. The cover itself is very clean. There's no blemishes, no outside of the creases, of course, a couple of little creases. There's no spine splitting. Staples are tight. So, in reality, it's not a bad copy for someone who, like myself, who's looking for that one and can't find it. So definitely was worth getting. Actually, when I purchased this one, I actually got 2 others on top of it. So it came out being a pretty good deal for me in the grand scheme of things from the store I purchased it from. It's actually one I frequent quite a bit. And as you can see, going back to Rocket Raccoon himself, as you know, Marvel in their Marvel Universe introduced him in a different way to where he was already part of where him and Groot were teamed up, and he hadn't even met Groot yet on this series. So in the Marvel, it was him and Groot were teamed up together already, and then he ended up meeting the other Marvels, the Guardians of the Galaxy, teamed up with them and became the actual Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's a little bit of a different introduction from the comic books, which is fine. I actually thought it was a great idea for them to introduce him that way instead of introducing to the Hulk, which unfortunately, as you know, Marvel themselves can't use Hulk in any more solo movies, which unless they team up with I think it was Universal Studios, so they still don't have the rights to him, which sucks that they can only do him in Avenger movies. So I'm sure they probably would have done it a different way if not, but you gotta go with what you got. It's everyone's kind of like everyone. I'm hoping they eventually get the rights back to the Incredible Hulk, so they can actually produce some real Incredible Hulk movies like World War Hulk, stuff like that. So that would be cool. And of course we've got the 3rd Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out, and in reality I think they would. I mean, a lot of people like Rocket Raccoons. I could see them actually doing some like solo movies with him or continuing his storyline further, because they gave some backstory to him a little bit that he was like experimenting on and stuff like that. So I'd actually be okay if they actually introduced him further, or flushed out his background a little bit more and went into like storylines with him. Maybe introduced his love Lila into the story. So I actually would be okay with that. And then of course, like I said, the Incredible Hulk himself, hopefully they want to get his rights back so they can flesh out his story more, do a lot more with his character as well. And then going back to the comic book itself, sorry, I kind of jump around every little bit again, but the comic book itself I thought was a great way for an introduction, having him being with the Hulk and getting his story fleshed out a little bit that way. Like the Hulk was kind of like a side character in this edition, so they could actually introduce a brand new character to the Marvel series, and kind of go into his background, why he's there, his relationships, and then they were able to kind of move him forward into other stories, and not just keep him as like kind of like a sidekick to Hulk. It was kind of like, okay, here's Rocket Raccoon, here's the Hulk to help get people interested in the story of having a bigger character or having a main character there, but Hulk's going to be on like kind of like his own sidekick storyline to Rocket Raccoon. So I thought that was kind of cool, and and I did like the drawing. I'm gonna try and see focus on a little bit. The actual like drawing of Rocket Raccoon himself. There we go. I think that's kind of a cool looking character drawing of him from the movies. Of course, the movies look better, but I think this is kind of more of a humorous one of him, how he looks, and then, the Hulk himself. So it's kind of like you have a funny character with a more serious character. I thought that was kind of a good idea as well for that comic book itself. And even actually in the article, even in the cover itself, it says, "What Hulk has to share his 20th anniversary issue with puny talking animal? You got it, Jade Jaws. Move over and make way for Rocket Raccoon." I thought that was kind of a humorous way for them to introduce Rocket Raccoon as well into this comic book issue. And as I said, this is a key issue where it's another first appearance of actually two characters of actually. Let's see, I know you got Walrus. I can't help but laugh at that one. But you got like the first appearance of Half-Worlders, which is like the animals that are on this planet with Rocket Raccoon, because again, this is where he's from. This is where all the animals who can talk are from. Like the first appearance of actually 3 antagonists: Judson Jakes, Uncle Pico, and Killer Clowns. I say it twice. And Rocket Raccoon's girlfriend as well. So you got a lot of first appearances in this one, in this series. And actually, the Betty Ross part of the story that is kind of like the side story to this comic actually takes place in issue 269 of the Incredible Hulk. So it's kind of like if you ever got this comic and you kind of wanted to know, like, why is Betty Ross doing this stuff with Rick Jones, and how did he get hit by gamma radiation? Issue 269 would actually be the companion to it to find out what's going on with her story. If you just purchased this one, didn't know what was going on. That's not really a key issue. That should be more of a common one to find versus this one, of course. And as I've said in my last 2 streams, I am more of a key comic book collector, key issue collector. First appearances, especially major Marvel characters such as this Rocket Raccoon. I mean, come on, who can beat this guy, Rocket Raccoon? Yeah. How you look at it. I'm actually trying to get the other first appearances of the other Guardians of the Galaxy. Gamora, Drax, Groot, which is I almost got that one actually. I lost the bid on that one recently, just by a little bit, and can't think of the main character. I know can't think of the other person's name right now. Star-Lord. No, it's took my tongue. I've been trying to find those to kind of add to this one, so I can have all the first appearances of the Guardians of the Galaxy of that series. And if you actually have watched my Discord as well, you'll see that I actually did purchase the first appearance of Ultron, which is actually a comic I will be discussing at a later time as well. If you follow my Discord, I do post updates about first appearance key comics I get on there. So if you're kind of like, hey, wonder what he's got today, you can actually see what's on there of some of the newer stuff I'm purchasing lately. And like I said, I usually purchased comics that are more on the 5.0, 6.0 range. Sometimes I will purchase one if it's one I haven't found though. If I haven't been able to find a copy of a kind of a really rare one that's hard to find, I'll purchase a lower grade comic of it. For instance, like my issue of the first appearance of the Juggernaut, which I will be discussing once it comes back from being graded. I will be discussing that one. Trust me, I really look forward to talking about that one with y'all. And some of the older, very old comics like X-Men, stuff like that, I'm okay with purchasing those and lower grade versions like 4.0, 3.0. Just anything in the Golden Age, I'll definitely purchase. But any of the 70s and up, I'll usually make sure it's above a 5.0. Especially recent stuff, I always purchase higher up. So I mean, of course, as always, it's just some of the stuff I like to look at getting, try to work on. If there's anything, of course, if there's any questions you have, it'd be more than free to discuss them. You can message me in chat, or you can, or if you have questions down the road that you can't think of tonight, you can hit me up on my Discord there and send me messages on there. I always respond to any questions or messages I get on there. I'm usually really good about doing that. And I do post all of my previous streams on YouTube, all my previous Geek Hour streams. So if you want to catch up on what's going on those or previous comic books I've talked about, you can always hit me up on there as well. So again, like I said, this is not a bad issue. I would actually recommend it. It's a good read too. If it's something you're interested in taking a look at and want to check out, I can highly recommend getting it, or at least, even if you can't find it, there's websites actually you can go online and read the plot stories to comic book issues. And if you're just getting into it as well, it's another good way to really get into the series by looking it up. Like there's some sites that I use for finding what key issues there are, especially if I go to a comic book store looking for key issues, or garage sales. I pull those up online. You can also find what is it? The site that I use. That actually is what the main one I use for finding graded comics. It's called comicpriceguide.com. You can use that as well to find the prices, the values of comic books. They have everything ranged from the 1.0 to a 10.0, with it being graded and non-graded. So it's a great way to finding what you're looking for a graded type of comic, and it'll tell you if it's a first appearance as well. Especially if you find a comic and you're not sure about it, you can type in it'll ask you for the series stuff like the Incredible Hulk, and then it'll ask for the issue number, which would be 271, and it'll pull up a list of this comic's worth 10,000 or it's worth $5. This one here is actually like I said, this one's not a high grade, but I can tell you actually what it's worth. Let's see, 271. This one it would actually be worth, and this is a newsstand edition. And usually, if you do see that, like newsstand versus direct edition, it doesn't matter a whole lot. Certain ones it does, but in the grand scheme of anything, they're usually worth about the same amount. This is a newsstand edition. This one itself is probably about what I paid for. Somewhere between $60 and $70. So, I mean, I broke even on it, so it's not a horrid oh my god, I didn't make any money. Sometimes you just don't make money on these comics. When you purchase them the initial purchase, you usually don't make any money. I mean, unless you're looking at purchasing, a high grade of like the 9.0 of this would be worth, if a 9.0 of this would have been worth like $135. I mean, again, it's, because it is a first appearance of Rocket Raccoon. It's not going to be worth a whole lot right now. Maybe another 20 years from now, what I purchased it for, what I purchased it for versus what it's worth right now could double. It really just, it varies per edition or per characters. I've got some first appearances that are over $20. I mean, it's just because even though they're high grade, they're just not worth a lot right now. It always depends on age and popularity of the character. Of course, he is a popular character right now, but it's still going to take, at least another couple of years, probably another 10 years before it actually becomes really worth anything. And of course, comic books themselves, the more scarce they become, the more valuable they become. So, hey there, Big Boys 98. How you doing tonight, my friend? Welcome to the Brotherhood. Hope you're having a wonderful evening tonight, and welcome to have you join our discussion as we talk about the Incredible Hulk issue 271, first appearance of Rocket Raccoon himself. So if you do have any questions that you may have missed out on during the initial part of our stream, you're more than welcome to ask them. Right now I'm just kind of going over some of the value of comic books themselves and how the value may increase down the road. So if you have any other questions, you're more than welcome to ask them, my friend. As I was saying, let me add one thing. Oh yes. This is my. I do my every Sunday. I do my Geek Hour where I discuss a new comic book, a first appearance, rare issue. So I always I try to do this every week. Give me just 1 second while I fix something. I need to add something I forgot to add. Where is it at? Here it is. Browse. Where are you at? That was it. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, I'm a very big comic book fan. So I always try to do one of these about once, like I said, once every Sunday. I do a comic book stream where I talk about rare ones I find, purchased, the values of them, how to, just in general, just have a good conversation about them. Anything comic related, comic books, Marvel movies, just have a good time with it. And I do and of course I also do my normal streams as well where I play like Rainbow Six Siege and Minecraft Dungeons and other such games. And just adding a video source onto this real quick. Sorry about this. Yeah, this real quick before I forget. Actually forgot to add these. I need to do this. Where is it at? Give me 1 second here. Let's save. Is this one? Existing one. Thanks, man. I hope you have yourself a wonderful evening, and thanks for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And I appreciate the follow, my friend. And welcome to the Brotherhood. Hope to see you around. So, as I was saying, I always try to, I do try and collect rare comics every now and again when I can. Try to, make it fun. It's always been a hobby of mine since I was just a wee thing. Me and my brother would always collect them. I did, of course I was a kid in the 90s and I always purchased, I'd always go to comic book stores and be like, oh, hey, look, there's a Amazing Spider-Man, and I never really got it. At the time, I was never big into purchasing, or I didn't really know what I was purchasing. I was just kind of, buying cool stuff. Whatever looked cool in the cover. I didn't know what it was. I bought a lot of, during the 90s, a lot of comic books were coming out, and they were never really worth anything. So I've got a bunch of comics that weren't 5 cents. It's just, but when you're growing up and I tell my son the same thing. I buy him comics. They're not worth anything, but he sees them. He likes reading them, and honestly that's what I think being a comic book collector is about. Is not just buying stuff that is worth money, but it's finding what you enjoy. I'm not a big DC fan. I know there's people who love DC, who collect DC comics. I'm a Marvel fan. I have very, very limited few DC comics. But, it doesn't matter if the comic's worth a bunch of money, and it doesn't matter if it's worth nothing. As long as you enjoy what you do and you enjoy reading them, that's what matters. Enjoying the stories that the writers come up with, the characters, their backgrounds, just in general. If you enjoy it, that's what matters. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be out there trying to make money off these things. Now, if you get into it, like for myself, I was a nice kid. I didn't do it at first, but as I got older, I came to a point where I was like, you know what? I really want to start getting into serious comic book collecting. I want to collect rare comics, and so I did. I actually, what was it? What issue? I'm trying to remember what issue it was. The first one I purchased. It was an Uncanny X-Men one. Which one was it? It was the first appearance of the Hellfire Club. It's actually the day I was actually at a local comic book store, and I was kind of looking around, and and I was like, I started looking, and I was like, hey, this is, I wanted to take my son to go see some comic. He'd never been to a comic book store, so I took him with me one day. And as we were there looking through the comics, I saw this one, and I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. And I saw what price it was. I was like, why is this thing so much? And the guy was like, oh, well, that's the first appearance of the Hellfire Club. And I was like, oh, really? Interesting. So is that why it's worth so much? I started talking with him, and he's like, yeah. Key first appearances are actually worth a lot of money. Because, as like everyone knows, Superman issue #1 is a bunch of money. Spider-Man #1 is a bunch of. But that's what I was learning. That's when I learned. It doesn't always have to be a main hero character like Iron Man, Incredible Hulk. Villains, secondary characters. Those are actually worth money too. Storylines, first, like a key issue in a storyline could be worth a lot of money. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't know this. As a kid growing up, I just, I was like everyone else. As a kid, I purchased stuff I liked. I didn't know that there were actual value to more than just first appearance of major superheroes. And so of course I purchased it, and I still have it, and it's worth a bit of money. I mean, it's not oh my god, thousands of dollars, but it's still worth a little bit of money. And it was at that point I realized, you know what? I'm gonna start going out and I'm gonna start buying some real comics. I'm actually gonna go out and start finding rare comics. And of course, as I would go there, and I frequent there a little bit and talk to the owner and one of his employees, who was also a comic book collector. They would tell me things they look for, like grading. They started talking about grading, resources I could use to help me when I look at stuff for grading, things I could use to help me find key appearances, and it really got me more involved into doing this type of stuff. And as I talked, and as they helped me figure this stuff out, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to start finding me these key comics. And that's actually when I started, and they even helped me a little bit figure out how I could help me find people selling these kind of comics that weren't overly selling them for more than 3 times what they're worth when they're not worth that much. So using them as a resource, I would say if you're going to get into this, I would go to your local comic book store. I would talk to them. Maybe they have resources they could provide you when you're wanting to buy comics. I would recommend supporting them by going and buy stuff from them, because by doing that, they'll sometimes work with you. They could they give you places to look for, and sometimes you can even negotiate with them when it comes to purchasing comics, like I talked about in my last stream. They may be even willing to help you with that. I've had some that I can make deals with. They're like, oh, well, I'll take off $10 for this comic. You're a frequent buyer. I'll work with you. But I would say definitely go to your local comic book store if you're really interested, really into buying comics, and getting them to work with you on purchasing new comics or purchasing rare comics. Because sometimes you may get lucky with one of their resources they have, and you can say, oh hey, I found me a let's say for instance a New Mutant '98 first appearance of Deadpool. Boom, and you got yourself a great comic, and and some, of course, you sell to a comic book, they're going to give you 40%, maybe only 50% of what it's worth. but that's still saying, you know, you have resources you can use to purchase, sell, and of course there's eBay, of course, which I actually recommend using over some things. But that's just some of the stuff resources right there, and that's how I kind of got into it. I'd go there, they'd have key comics I was looking for, I'd buy them, maybe negotiate a little bit, get a lower price, and purchase them. But that's when I really started getting into this. And of course, I would look through a bunch of my comics as well, being a 90s kid, and looking and saying, oh, is anything here worth anything? I didn't at the time, unfortunately. All my comics were, you know, random variety of things, nothing really. I think maybe if I had to really, really guess, the only real rare comic I had was the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. I mean, it's not that hard to find. I mean, it's worth a little bit of money, the 6 issues altogether, especially since the movie was released, but it's not like, you know, huge amount of money because they mass-produced so many of them in the 90s. But I got those. I ended up getting the I also ended up collecting the Infinity War storyline when I was a kid. Still missing like 2 or 3 issues, which I'm still looking forward to this day. Same thing with the Infinity Crusade, which was like the 3rd act to it. I got like the first 2 issues of that, but in like I said, the grand scheme of things, it's it's one of those things you really is when you get older, you kind of want something to collect. And as I mean, most people as they get older, they want to have, you know, most people collect rare coins. You know, everyone has their own little thing they like to collect that's worth a little bit of money that they want to pass on to somebody else. And that's how I am. That's why I do this. I actually collect these, not for my own personal gain. I mean, I do it. Want to do it for fun because I enjoy it. I enjoy finding these rare comics, holding on to them because it's something, you know, that'll be worth something one day. And you know, it's something I can say, hey, you know, I've got, you know, the first appearance of Death Priest. Are you justifying hoarding? Just comic books, my friend. Just rare comic books. How are you doing tonight, Death Priest? Welcome to the stream, my friend. It's just something I like to collect for myself. That I can kind of just say, hey, you know, this is what I collect, what I enjoy collecting, rare of, and you know, and I'll end up passing them on to my son at some point down the road. That way, you know, he can do with them as he wishes. If he wants to continue looking for these rare comics, or if he wants to, he can sell them. I mean, it's up to him. I would hope he would at least hold on to them for a while before try to sell them. But you know, at the end of the day, all the comics I've collected will be passed on to him. And this is just something kind of fun, something fun to do as I get older. And I also enjoy just reading the storylines to these comic books themselves. Instead of just going online and reading it, it's actually fun to actually say, hey, I've got the first appearance of Rocket Raccoon. I can read them, enjoy reading it. Are you trying to achieve immortality through a collection? No, just something fun to do, man. Just something I enjoy doing with something I've always enjoyed doing, just collecting these rare comics. And like I said, I can just pass them on to my son at some time. That way he can either continue to collecting all these rare comics, or he can end up just selling them to make some money down the road if he wants to. And it's a fun little hobby. You know, you go out to these comic book stores, conventions, or even maybe just go to a garage sale and someone's got some rare issue they don't know of. Are you trying to achieve through your son? I've already achieved that. I've already achieved immortality through him. He's got a piece of me. He's got pieces of me with him, so I've already achieved my immortality. But it's an awesome thing to do. Especially when you go to a garage sale and you're like, oh wow, here's first appearance of, it's just actually case in point. Here's the first appearance of the Juggernaut, issue number 12 of X-Men. I mean, I picked that one up at a garage sale for $45, and it's worth a couple $100. I mean, you can't beat something like that. And And then also having these comics gives you the ability to meet other people who are comic book collectors, that you can, one day you can trade with. If maybe they have a key issue you're looking for, and you've got, 2 or 3 duplicates of some key issues, and you want to trade. I've done that before. I've had two key issues I've traded actually for a first appearance before. Kind of evened it out, the trade I did, so it wasn't worth, so it wasn't bad. And besides, it was duplicates, so they were my lower grade versus my higher grade, so I had to trade the lower grades for the one he had. It was worth it. So let's see. So not too bad. I mean, you come across some pretty good, some pretty decent comics every now and again. First appearance of Rocket Raccoon. Because I purchased this one about 3 weeks ago, so it ended up being not too bad of a deal. And I'm still looking for. Of course, I'm still trying to find someone selling a first appearance of Deadpool at a reasonable price. I've seen some of those go for a couple of $400 or $500. So still looking for a reasonable price on one of those. The other key one I'm looking for is actually the first appearance of Venom. Since I've already got the first appearance of the black suit Spider-Man wears that eventually turns into Venom, kind of would like to get that one just to kind of be a companion to the one I've got. Same thing with I've got the first appearance of Ultron. I'd like to get the first appearance of Vision, just to complement that comic. And there's comics like that I'm looking for to kind of, combine together, so it'd be kind of like a complete set almost. And there's been some that I've come across that I've almost pulled the trigger on purchasing. The cost of them was just kind of, they wanted more than it was worth, and I couldn't justify myself purchasing it. Like I was actually going to buy the first appearance of the Sentinels in one of the previous X-Men comics, and I just couldn't pull the trigger because they were asking for like $40 more than what the comic itself was worth, and I was like, I just can't do it. I can't spend more than, maybe it was $10-$20, but any more than that just ain't worth it. And I go on eBay quite a bit too for comic book purchases. I look on there quite a bit to see if I can find something reasonably priced. I don't want to I don't want to screw someone out of what they got, but I'm also not going to screw myself. I could justify a purchase if it was cost value. So if they had like a first appearance of, let's just say, I'm just going to give an example here, first appearance of the X-Men, first appearance. Let's just say it was a low grade, and it's like the grade was like 1 or 2, and the actual value was like $5,000. Well, if I had $5,000, I would be willing to spend $5,000. I don't have that type of cash right now, but I'm just using it as an example. I would spend that money to purchase it, but I'm not going to go above that, because then I can't justify that type of purchase for that amount of money to say, oh, well, I'm going to purchase this $5,000 comic and spend $5,500 to get it. It just that'd be stupid on my part. Anything above a certain limit for me is just not worth it, because I'm not going to make money. And it may not be, and I'm not all about the money, but I'm also not going to overspend when I could sit there and take that money to buy another comic book that's, reasonably priced, and still have the extra money that I would have spent on it to buy another one. So, and it really all comes down to how much are you willing to spend? How much are you willing to overspend for a comic? Are you willing to overspend $100, $200, $20? That's what it really comes down to. So if you're, and I know some people who are willing to spend, $500 more on a comic than what it's actually worth. I mean, and because of course, this is a much older comic, but I just can't do that. I mean, I've seen eBay. I like eBay, for instance. I've seen people on there buy comics for that were like $120. I've seen a bid go up to $220. I'm like, you just overspent $100 on a comic. I mean, the comic itself at the grade it's at is only worth $100. So you literally just pissed away $120 on a comic that's only worth $100. I mean, that to me, that's just stupid. Especially when that for it to even get up to where what you spent may never happen, or if it does, it would be a very long time before it happens. I mean, I just that just makes no sense to me. Why someone would ever want to spend that much more than what is there. And if you can't justify it, then it ain't worth it. That's just my 2 cents on that. I mean, not everyone will agree, and that's okay. I just know I could never spend that much more money. Anyway, I'll get off of that a little bit. So as always, if you did enjoy the stream, because we're gonna kind of wrap up the geek hour here, and it's been about 45 minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and just wrap it up here. If unless anyone has any questions they want to ask, I'd be more than willing to answer them. As other people have already asked some questions on here. If not, you're more than welcome to go to my Discord channel. You can follow me on there. You can see when I'm streaming, as well as post comments. I've got different sections, one for comic books, one for games. So if you want to post any of those categories about any of the things you want to talk about, I'm always willing to respond back. It may be an hour or so before I do, but I always respond back to everyone who does post on there. I do, and as always, I do stream other games as well, not just this. I do stream like Rainbow Six Siege, Dungeon Crawlers, such as that. And if you have any other questions, I do look forward to hearing from them. You can also click that follow button at the top right hand side and get a notification when I will be streaming again. So I hope everyone did enjoy the stream tonight as we talked about another issue of The Incredible Hulk 271. Next week we'll also be talking about another key issue. Same time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can also follow me you can subscribe to my YouTube channel as well and see all my previous streams that I post on there in case you weren't able to make it tonight or you do miss a stream. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there for this Geek Hour segment. I will be switching over to Rainbow Six Siege, play around on there for a little while. So I'm going to end the stream and reboot and start it back up. So I hope everyone did enjoy it. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. In being safe, take care, and I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a good one.